Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make a video going over some of the various different maps, um, time maps that I've uncovered. Not too long ago, in the fourth moon, um, the self-existing moon of form, I essentially just opened myself to synchronicity. There were various different things that I was doing with the law of time, but one thing that kept making itself apparent was um, my methodology when it comes to my input or how I work with the law of time. And since it was the self existing owl moon, which I got some owl synchronicities, randomly hearing owls at certain points in time. And when checking the clock, it had very synchronistic numbers. Um, and the owl is very important, is a very important animal, a totem animal that I've come across. But the thing that, like, I was doing various different things with Law of Time that I haven't been doing regularly, but the one thing that was the constant was looking at these various different time maps. So I just kind of want to give a brief overview of some of the various different time maps that I've uncovered. I'm essentially what you would call a time cartographer. Like, I map out various different cycles in time to help us to navigate through time and how these different cycles affect us. Some of it is based on intuition, but most of it is based on mathematical symmetry. Okay, and that's going to be very important. There's various different aspects to uncovering time maps that are important, and symmetry is the most important. If there's no symmetry to a map, then it's disordered, so to speak. Now, that doesn't mean to say that some of them aren't disordered. Some of them, uh, more so the odd numbers, are odd in a sense. But for the most part, I'm going to be going over the ones that do have very clear symmetry. So if anybody has seen my Pulsars video, they'll know that I essentially realized the Self-Ware Pulsars on my own just by observing the resonance field of 4713, as well as looking at the structure of the wave spells. So I'm going to kind of go over a few of them just to kind of give you an idea, just a little bit deeper knowledge concerning the Self-Ware Pulsars. So, for instance, let's look at the very first one, okay? The very first one is the Red Dragon Wave Spell. Okay, the Red Dragon Wave Spell is always the very first on the entire Zulkin, right? And because it is in the first 52-day cycle, what is known as a castle, that castle is the red castle, since it is the first, right? Remember the alchemical sequence of red, white, blue, yellow, right? Well, the castles are red, white, blue, yellow, and green, okay? The green is the central castle of synchronicity. But the red castle is the castle of birth because it's red wave spell within it, because each castle 52-day cycle is made up of 4 13-day cycles, each one in sequence of a red wave spell, a white wave spell, a blue wave spell, and a yellow wave spell. And what determines that is the kin that falls in the magnetic tone of that wave spell. So for instance, the first wave spell is from red magnetic dragon to red cosmic skywalker. And then the next wave spell is kin 14, which is white magnetic wizard to white cosmic world bridger. And then blue magnetic hand to blue cosmic storm. And then yellow magnetic sun to yellow cosmic human. And so for every castle, the wave spell that shares the same color with it is what is known as a court. And these are very significant wave spells because they are the most primary wave spell within each castle. And what you'll notice is that for the 4 base castles, the red, white, blue, and yellow, each of their courts are ruled by the cardinal earth family, which is the red dragon, the white world bridger, the blue monkey, and the yellow warrior. 1, 6, 11, and 16. But anyways, I'm getting I'm digressing, but the first wave spell is the Red Dragon wave spell. So again, the Self-Ware Pulsars are 5 in number, and they are always the magnetic tone kin, the self-existing tone kin, the resonant tone kin, the planetary tone kin, and the cosmic tone kin. So for the first wave spell, that would be kin 1, kin 4, kin 7, kin 10, and kin 13. So again, this list that I've written out, it's still in, it's a work in progress because I'm working with a lot of various different things, and this is just a rough draft, so to speak. So you'll see various different keyword changes as I find better terms to explain the different processes. So for instance, for the first wave spell, we have the Red Magnetic Dragon, and what you'll notice is that every Self-Ware Pulsar begins and ends with the same color, but the other 3 colors are always involved. Now I'll show you this. So the first is always the magnetic tone. That essentially is the point in time where we download the purpose, right? We receive information of what that 13-day cycle is going to be about, and it is the purpose of the entire 13-day cycle. And always in sequences of 3 days, 3 days later, we get to the self-existing tone, which is when the form or the methodology to essentially what we're going to be doing, sorry, I just burped, will install. So it's like on that day you'll see a change within your consciousness and yourself that is going to determine how the changes are going to occur, what you're going to be doing, essentially. And then on the resonant tone kin, that's essentially when we resonate. It's essentially the very core, or the thing that we're going to be resonating, the thing that we're going to be doing, that is going to be the ultimate change within the entire Self-Ware Pulsar. And then the 10th, or the planetary, is just determining what the challenge is going to be. And that's when the challenge takes place. It is the action, so to speak, right? And that's essentially when we run the software that we installed here and that we programmed into ourself here with the resonance. And then on the 13th is essentially where we upload our actions or our consciousness back into the noospheric matrix, or the consciousness of the universe. We send back our energy, and that determines the energy that's going to be received on the next download, so to speak. And where that's where it's like, when people first start getting into the law of time, they think that a lot of it has to do with willpower, right? It's like we're developing our magic, we're developing our telepathy, we're developing our wisdom and knowledge of these things, right? It's sacred science that's connected to sacred mathematics, etc. But after a while, at least for some people, you realize that it has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do with force. It just happens to do with opening yourself up to what is, right? It's like magic is not necessarily about developing a stronger will to change things. It's more so about opening yourself up to the divine plan and being able to understand that. And through that, you do receive a power, but it's a power of patience, it's a power of tolerance, it's a power of compassion and simplicity, right? It's like you're not so much being able to change things, but you're able to be content and able to see that what is changing on its own is for the better. That's what this knowledge is all about. It's what it's all about, revealing the divine plan and being able to understand that. And from that place, you're able to essentially be content. So for the red dragon, right, that's the purpose of the red dragon, is to nurture. It's to be unified. It's to feel one with the universe. And the 4 seed is to essentially install the method of focusing on the story arcs in life, being able to understand attention and targeting, and being able to pay attention to people whenever they're and things whenever they're occurring or whenever they're speaking to you, right? And then the resonance of the hand is essentially being able to use your hands in a way that is for the betterment of all. That's why I call the blue hand the architect, because the blue hand has the power of essentially moving things in life, right? But if you understand the power of being and the ability to focus, you'll realize that what happens synchronistically, it'll guide your hands. And then the challenge and the action is love, because it has dog in the 10 position. So it's all about being loyal, and it's about having heart and being loving. And then the cosmic and the Skywalker in the cosmic position is about essentially understanding prophecy, right? It's about understanding, having the wisdom of prophecy, having the understanding of synchronicity, etc. So all of these are connected, and they each have a complementary power to each one of them, right? So it's essentially about understanding the relationship. For instance, when in the next wave spell, when Wizard is in the 1 position, Wizard is all about the solvent. It's about the solution. The Wizard is deeply connected to the sun, and the Wizard is essentially a problem solver. It's about fixing things, like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Wherever you go, you fix things, right? And with Earth in the 4 position, that's essentially giving us the understanding of synchronistic navigation. It's about understanding, being able to read the signs of the Earth, geomancy, if you will, right? And being able to interpret them. And with 7 in the sun, and with Sun in the 7 position, that's about enlightenment, right? It's about having revelation, understanding the truth, enlightening the burden of others, right? Because enlightening has 2 different meanings. And with Night in the 10 position, it's about being open to your intuition, understanding your dreams, etc. Having imagination, right? That shamanic understanding, because the Night is the shaman. And with World Bridger in the cosmic position, it's essentially being able to understand the connections in life. The World Bridger is all about having connection with things, right? So all of these in these positions give you the energy of the White Wizard wave spell. And these are the changes that occur through the self, and being able to view the world as yourself, view all people in all things as yourself. That's one of the key things about the Self-Ware Pulsars. And so the hand wave spell has its own. See, now Dog is in the 4 position, Skywalker is now in the 7, the Warrior is in the 10, and the Storm is in the 13. So by knowing which ones are in which position, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to get through the ups and downs of life. That whenever life goes down, you're not completely disappointed. It's okay to feel your emotions, it's okay to express yourself, but to not feel like it's all hopeless. And then when life goes up, to not lose your humility, to not misuse power, and to not misuse advantage and influence in this world. So this is just like, again, this list here is just all the different Self-Ware Pulsars and the different kin that are involved in them, right? Now these lines here are essentially giving them symmetry, because there's 5 kin in each set. This can essentially be seen as a chromatic. A chromatic is a cycle of 5, right? So if you see here this symmetry, right? 1 and 5, the least and the greatest, or the lowest and the highest, right? 2 and 4, and 3 is perfectly in the center, right? So what you'll notice is that the energy that occurs on this day is deeply connected to this day, right? So there's going to be things that are going to happen on both these days that are going to be connected, right? And it's the same with number 2 and number 4. So on the 4th day and the 10th day, these 2 are deeply connected. And the 3 is the very center. So it's where it's all resting on. See, the first one gives the purpose, but this is the ultimate change that's going to occur, right? This is the ultimate focus, right? And so these and this one kind of share an energy like a trinity, and these two are sort of like the complementary support through the whole process. And if you were to, for instance, I haven't mapped them all out just yet, but if you were to look at all 100, right? Because there's 20 wave spells and 5 in each wave spell. If you were to look at all 100, you can do the same thing, these lines here, but with all of them, right? Like if you have 100 here and the first one here, right, you can connect them like that. So that the things that occur on this one are connected to the number 1. And what's interesting is that yellow cosmic sun and red magnetic dragon are occult powers. Because again, as I was saying, if you go from the highest kin to the lowest, the occult powers go in one increments like this till you get to the very center of the Zolkin, which is white cosmic dog and blue magnetic monkey. Those are occults. And they're antipodal to the very outer, right? The cosmic sun and the magnetic dragon. So those are two different ways to look at it, right? And if you are a kin with one of these tones, it is very, very important to understand your position in the greater scheme of things, right? It's very, very important. So that's one thing, the Self-Ware Pulsar map. Another interesting set of cycles. Hang on one second. Yeah, here's another one. And I'm not going to go into this one too deeply, but these are the diamond cycles, right? The diamond cycles are 18-day cycles that correspond to each of the 20 solar seals. Now, you may be thinking, okay, well, 18 times 20, that's only 360, but we have 364/365 days of the year. Well, for every chromatic set, so for instance, the first 18 days of the Hob, or the song, magnetic 1 to magnetic 18, because magnetic is the first moon, right? The first 18 days, that's the dragon diamond, right? That is the power of the dragon through those days of that moon, right? Or those 18 days. And then the next 18 days, magnetic 19 to lunar 8, that all has the power of the wind. And then once you get through one set of 5 from dragon, wind, night, seed, serpent, right? After that 5th one, there's one singular day that acts as a sort of gap, right? And since this chromatic set begins and ends with red, this is the red gap, right? It's sort of like a very synchronistic day that corresponds to the red energy, which the red energy is all about initiation. It's about starting anew. It's about the beginning. It's about waking up, etc., right? And then the next 5 are the world bridger to the dog, or the white world bridger to the white wolf, right? And then that second gap, it's one singular day that is based on refinement and extension, continuing the story, so to speak, continuing being patient. And then the next 5 begin and end with blue, monkey to eagle. And then the last 5 are warrior to sun, which are yellow. So after every set of 5, you have one singular day that acts as a sort of gap. And this has perfect symmetry within the entire Hob, right? Because each one of these are 18 days long. There's 20 of them. 18 times 20 is 360. And then you have these 4 here, which act as the gaps, the galactic activation portals. It's sort of like a break, right? It acts as a sort of pillar to hold it all up, right? So these are what are known as the diamonds, right? And what you'll notice here is I put the Gregorian dates, right? And the dragon is all about the nurturing. It's about protection. It's about being the guardian. The red dragon is the guardian, right? And the serpent is all about the life force energy, the blood. So that's what that gap is all about. Now, so that's on October 24th. This one here is on January 23rd. This one's on April 24th, and this one's on July 24th. So each one of these days on Gregorian are those gap days. So pay attention to those. I don't know if you're following this calendar or the Gregorian, but pay attention to those days. So that is the diamond map. Now what you'll notice is that Jose Arguelles essentially mapped out the 52 weeks in a year, or the 52 heptads, right? Well, what you'll notice is that the mathematics can be reversed. Instead of looking at 52 7-day cycles, there are 7 52-day cycles. And what do we know about 52-day cycles? They are what are known as castles. And the castles are very well established in the Zolkin, right? Because 5 times 52 is 260. But most people don't realize that there are 7 castles in the Hob. 7 times 52 is 364. So for every 52 days in the Hob correspond to different it corresponds to the radial plasmas, right? And by understanding the 52 destiny castle, right, the very first Hob, or the year that is of the 364, it corresponds to the red magnetic moon, because it begins in the green castle. That's what synchronizes the 18,980 day cycle of the 52 Hobs and the 73 Zolkins, right? It begins in the green castle. Now, the first one, these are ruled by the Gateway Earth family, so Moon, Wizard, Storm, and Seed. We are currently in a 3-seed year here. The yellow electric seed last year was blue lunar storm, which this has a lot to do, right? Because the storm is the 19th seal, lunar is the second lunar tone, and 119 is 911 backwards, and 219, yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't want to get into because I've been hearing some stuff online about everything, but this is very important for everything that has been going on. And we actually just entered a 13-year cycle with the one wizard, or the magnetic wizard. But anyways, so because and I actually have not gotten into this, but each of these are the 7 radial plasmas, or the 7 chakras, or the 7 brainwave breaths that correspond to various different breathing codes. And because I haven't described these yet, I'm not going to go into them here. But essentially, each one of these focuses in on a different chakra, a different energy field of the body, right? And I'm not going to get into it now because I haven't described it much, but I'm just kind of going through these. Now, another thing that I eventually looked for, because this year has been very important for me in various different ways, but all the kin that are prime numbers. And what I've noticed is that there are 55 of them within the Zolkin. From 1 to 260, there are 55. Okay, so this can be looked at in various different ways. Essentially, the way that I view prime numbers in terms of kin is that prime numbers are odd numbers, first off, except for 2. 2 is the only one, right? That's not an odd number. But the way that I view primes is that they're more so associated with consciousness than they are Mother Nature, right? I would say that even numbers, or composite numbers, those are associated with the unconscious workings of the natural mathematical system of nature and the cosmos and stuff, whereas prime numbers are more associated with conscious thought, right, and self, etc. So the prime kin are all about understanding the self, and on these days, or on these day nights, right, these kin, these are very significant times to essentially understand the self. So I just have them listed out here, but I have a map getting into the chromatics, because again, since there's 55 of them, they can be seen in chromatic sets. So let me find that. Okay. So the first 5 prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. And because we have 55 prime numbers from 1 to 260, right, these can be seen as 11 perfect chromatics, or 5 sets of 11, which I actually haven't looked at. But so the first 5, these first 5 kin 2, kin 3, kin 5, kin 7, and 11, all belong to one set, right? So everything from kin 2 to kin 11 are all interconnected, right? There's a process, or this is like a chapter in life, right? That are all connected. So it's like it begins on kin 2 and it comes to its conclusion on kin 11. And when you get to kin 13, the next prime, that is a different chapter in life. That is a different set. The things that occur here are separate from things that happen here. Unless, of course, you view them as sets of 11, then these 10 here and this one down here, kin 31, overtone monkey, these first 11 are all connected in their own way. Just depends on how you're looking at it. It's all depending on how you're navigating through these fractals of consciousness, right? And one thing that you'll know is that there are these gaps in between them, because there's the prime number 11 and then the prime number 13 and the number 12, which is an abundant even number, but at least I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say that and then be wrong. Hang on, let me double check that. I'm pretty sure 12 is an abundant number, but I'm not entirely positive. Yeah, it's an abundant and highly abundant number. But anyways, I'm very self-critical. But so that number is perfectly in between these two primes. So this is sort of like a gap, right? It's like a break. It's like a time to bridge these two chapters in life. It's sort of like kind of seeing the conclusion of this one while also simultaneously preparing for what's going to happen here, right? And it's interesting because it's crystal human, right? It's the cooperation of humans as one total unit. So that's very interesting. But you'll notice that there are these processes in chromatics, right? There's the input, there's the store, there's the process, the output, and the matrix. These are akin to the same process that's in every chromatic set. The download, the installation, the resonance, the action, and the flow, right? Because this is sort of like the ebb, where the energy is coming inside us from outside. It's like downloading awareness and knowledge from the universe. And this is like the flow, where we send it out, right? Or sorry, the ebb, where it where the universe sends out this energy, right? And we download it. And then there's the flow, where it goes into the matrix and it basically reprograms the energy and sends it back out. That's what all of this is about. It's all about the fluctuation of energy, right? Every time energy comes to us, it is being expressed from the matrix. And every time we send out energy, the matrix is receiving it. So self and matrix is a very, very important dichotomy. But when it comes to the number 5, this is the process, right? It comes into us, it changes us. We, with that change, express it. And then the matrix receives it and sends it back. So that is the chromatic energy pattern, right? And so every set of 5 prime numbers has this energy. And with the tone and the seal, it helps us to understand exactly what that energy is going to be like. Since, for instance, the first prime number is number 2. That's kin white lunar wind. Now, because it's in the first position of this chromatic set, it's about an input. The white wind is the spirit, it is the breath, it is the voice. And the lunar tone is, the lunar tone, or the polar lunar tone is about challenge. So within this chromatic set is about inputting the spirit of challenge, or the challenge of spirit. And then the next is the installation, right? It is the electric night, which is activating the service of intuition and shamanic understanding, right? So what we're essentially doing is installing the abundance of service, or the service of intuition, etc., right? It's like the universe is giving us a job and saying, use your imagination, create art. And the very center is the overtone serpent, the number 5. That is the 3rd prime number. So it's all about changing the energy within our aura, right? Our life force, right? And the nuances of that. So every time these 5 kin we cycle through these 5 kin, we're essentially going through the same process in life. So that's another interesting thing. There are these 11 chromatics within the Tzolk'in that have these energies as well. And these relate back to consciousness, right? But in a different way. It helps us to understand sort of like more so. I mean, that's the thing, is like we have this mystery of prime numbers. Like how, like what are prime numbers in terms of consciousness? What are prime numbers in terms of the qualitative aspect to them, as opposed to just cold logistical quantitative purpose? You know what I mean? There's all these different forms of consciousness that are surrounded around these numbers, right? So it's like, it's very interesting to think about how these work. Now, I know I said the self-aware pulsars have to do with consciousness, and the prime numbers have to do with consciousness of the self, etc. But I think what differentiates these things is that the primes are definitely more. I think the primes are definitely more powerful in their energy, right? Because nothing can divide them. There's a lot of things that we can determine about prime numbers just by looking at their qualities. And another interesting thing is that they connect wave spells, right? Because the Cosmic Skywalker is in the first wave spell, but number 17 is in the second wave spell. And number 29 is in the third wave spell. So they sort of like connect wave spells, right? They connect the energy from one to the next, right? And all these gaps here that I've determined, yeah, 30 is in between 29 and 31, and 50, but how is 50 in between 47 and 53? Well, it's the number that's right there in the center, right? Because from 47 you have 48, 49, and from 53 you have 52, 51. So 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. What's in the center? Number 50. I mean, you can consider all 5 of them, you know, the gap. I mean, you could see it that way. But I just, for, you know, simplicity's sake, I just put the very central kin. And what's interesting is that there is a central kin for every single gap. You can find because the gaps between the odd from prime to prime in these chromatic sets always have a center kin, which is also interesting. So that's the prime number map, right? Perfect symmetry with each one. Here's one that's pretty cool. Here's something that's really cool. These are the magic code kin, is what I call them. Hang on, let me take a drink of tea. Now, what's interesting is that if you were to look at the kin code, okay, the kin code is essentially an abbreviation of a kin by writing their tone number and their seal number, and then like putting like a period or a dot between them. So, for instance, kin 1 has the first lunar tone and the first solar seal, so its kin code would be 1.1. Now, it doesn't, you can look at it, there's 2 different ways that you can look at it. You can put the seal first and the tone first, or you could put the tone first and the seal second. I'm sorry. You can either put the tone or the seal in the first number position and then switch it over and do it with, you know, vice versa. So what's interesting is that I've mapped all the kin out. And if you were to put the tone first, right, and the seal number second, there are 7 kin that are very peculiar. Now, for instance, take the first one of these 7. You have kin 28, yellow lunar star. Now, what's interesting is that it's tone 2, seal 8. So 028, kin code 28. You see, and the same thing with kin 43, that's self-existing night, tone 4, seal 3. And what's interesting is that if you double that, you get kin 86, which is galactic world bridger, tone 8, seal 6, 86, kin 86. And then there's planetary dragon, tone 10, seal 1, right? kin 101. And then kin 118 is magnetic mirror, 1.18. Red crystal moon is tone 12, seal 9. And white lunar dog is kin 210 with a kin code of 2.10. So there are 7 of them that do that. The other 253 do not. Only 7 do that. So I haven't really exactly determined the energy about these, but that is a peculiar thing, right? That there's 7. And another interesting thing, actually, before I go on to this, if you were to flip it and put the seal number first and then the tone, only 1 is like that. Only 1. And that's kin 133, Electric Skywalker. Seal 13, tone 3. Only 1 of them do that. And that's what's interesting. So this is the one that I call the magic stone kin. Because stone, as in seal tone, you can think of it as like that, like S for seal, tone, stone, or you can think of it as S for seal, T for tone, and then 1, because there's only 1. So S-T-one, S-T-one, Red Electric Skywalker, right? So that's very interesting there. Another interesting thing is these 7 here, which is fascinating because it's numbered in 7, right? There's 7 of them. These are the kin whose, if you multiply the tone number and the seal number, you get its kin number. So obviously for kin 1, 1 times 1, that's 1. Kin 14, White Magnetic Wizard, has tone 1, seal 14. 1 times 14 is 14, right? Red Cosmic Serpent, that's tone 13, seal 5. 13 times 5 is 65. It's kin number. Then 130 for Cosmic Dog. 154, Spectral Wizard. 11 times 14 is its kin number, 154. And then kin 195, 13 times 15 is 195. And then obviously for the last one, 13 times 20 is kin 260. So there's only 7 of them that do this. Again, going back to the magic code kin. But another interesting thing is that, remember me talking about the Earth families, of how there's the polar Earth family, right? That's the red serpent, the white dog, the blue eagle, and the yellow sun, right? Those 4 are all here, but only with the cosmic tone, right? So you have 13 serpent, 13 dog, 13 eagle, 13 sun. And each of these are 4 of the 7. Now the only other 3 are the magnetic dragon, magnetic wizard, and spectral wizard, which is another interesting thing. I haven't completely mapped this out, but I wanted to point these out because this is very interesting. Oh yeah, and this is all, hang on, let me double check to see if this is related to this. One sec, hang on. Double check my math real quick. So, yeah, what's interesting here is that the sum of all these numbers equals 715, right? And 715 is kin 195. If you subtract 522 Zulkans, you get kin 195, and that's one of these, right? So it's like this set of 7 is connected to these 7. And another interesting thing that I just realized, the number 715, right? Well, think about it like this. You have 7 here, and 1 here. This totals 15. And 715 is saying 7, 7, and that 8 in the center of 15. So that's interesting. I just realized that. Wow, see, you see what I'm talking about? Like all these synchronizations that just sort of occur. It's weird how that number there is the sum of all of these, and it connects both of them in 2 different ways. See, 195, 195, the 7 and the 15, because there's 15 kin here, and you have 7 in both sets. So that's interesting. So Yeah. So the Hob is made up of 13 28-day moons, right? So you can think of it like, um, you know, 13 moons, but you can also think of it as 28 13-day cycles. These are the 28 Hob wave spells, which the number 28, the structure of the moon, right, the 28-day cycle, has its own mathematical structure, right? For instance, the 7 to the 22nd is the cube journey, the 16-day cycle, right? It's all about the telepathy bridge being turned on. So it's a practice of being the warrior. It's about having courage, fearlessness, and questioning. And when telepathy turns on, it's a time of becoming stronger, right? And each of the seven, the 4 cycles of 7 relate to the 4 chakra sequences, which I haven't gotten into. And see, this is the tarot map that I've come to realize, but I based it on the resonance field of 4713. And so if you have the 22 major arcana, right? Or some people consider it the 0 to 21, right? There can be perfect symmetry with this based on for instance, the gematria cipher, the septonary gematria cipher, because it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, right? It goes up to 7 and then backwards, back down to 1. So you have the first 6 here: the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, and the Hierophant, right? And then once it enters the cube journey on the 7th day, you have the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, Tower, Star, Moon, Sun, Judgment, the World. And after the cube journey ends on the 22nd, then the last 6 days are before the cube journey began, but backwards: Hierophant, Emperor, Empress, High Priestess, Magician, Fool. So again, we have perfect symmetry, and this connects this tarot sequence of each of the moons, as well as these 28 Hob wave spells, for instance, connect back to the 4713 resonance field in septonary gematria. So that's also interesting, right? This is very, very detailed stuff, but I just kind of want to give people an idea of what I'm doing with all of this stuff. I'm trying to just skip ahead and be like, look, this is the ultimate purpose. It's very important. Hang on one second. No, not that one. Yeah, this is me starting on the sets of 11 of the Primekins. Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting to go over too. So this is a 52 map matrix. It's basically taking all the different sets of 52 and laying them out in alignment with each other. So what's interesting is that these are the destiny castles. These are the 52-year sequences. Again, beginning with the green castle, red magnetic moon. And then you have lunar wizard, electric storm, self-existing seed, overtone moon, rhythmic wizard, resonance storm, galactic seed, etc. These are the 52-year cycles. Again, me going back to the fact that we're in the electric seed year and last year was the lunar storm. Now, on the Zolkin, so there are 52 days within, or 52 years within that set. The key number being 52. Now, you see these green ones here? These are the galactic activation portal days. These 52 kin are what are also known as the Loom of Maya, which nobody really fully understands why these were highlighted, by the ancient Maya. But what's interesting is that they create this perfect symmetrical image here. And it's very interesting to reason out why they did this, right? This first column of 10 gaps in a row are known as the alpha run. The second set is known as the omega run, right? So this is kind of like in, and this is like an out, so to speak. Alpha, omega. You'll see that a lot. These various mathematical principles that repeat themselves in many different ways. But each of these 52 gapkins are basically where synchronicity doubles. It's a very, very important. And if you are born on one of these, it's very important to understand your kin number and why you happen to manifest as one of these gaps. It's very important. But that doesn't mean to say that people who aren't gaps aren't as important. They're just different, you know. So these 52 gapkins have alignment with these 52 years. And what's interesting is that this is the current year, right? As you see here, we are in 3 seed, the yellow electric seed year, from July 26, 2021 to July 25th, 2022. So this year's eventually going to come to an end real soon, but that's the year that we're in, right? So what you'll notice is that's the 16th of all 52 years, right? All 52 year cycle, it is number 16. And the 16th gap is yellow overtone warrior. That's my seal. That's me. That's my galactic signature, kin 96. And that's the 16th gap. This is the 16th year of all 52. And this is the year that I realized this. There's other things that come into it as well. This is actually one of my older alignment maps. There's one that I have that's even more detailed because I discovered various different cycles of 52 and aligned them up. But here's another thing. They're the 52 weeks of the year. So, again, the self-existing, the fourth heptad, or the fourth week of the self-existing moon, was in alignment with these, this important strand here for me. So, and there was a lot of things that happened in that self-existing owl moon that were important to me. So each of the different weeks align with these energies as well. So for instance, the first gap is magnetic dragon. That corresponds to the magnetic moon, because that's the first year of 52. That's the first of the 52 gapkin. And that corresponds with the first week of the entire year, or Hob. Now, what you'll also notice is that within the Tzolk'in there are 52 chromatics, 52 5-kin sequences. So through this first 5 days of the Tzolk'in, that is connected to the first week of the Hob. It's also connected to the magnetic dragon and the magnetic moon. All these energies are aligned because they are the first of all 52. These are different sets of 52 within the law of time, and they're all in alignment with each other. And I mean, like, think about it. Like, I'm in alignment with this year, and this year I discovered that I'm in alignment with it. Do you think that's coincidence? Do you think that that was, like, just... And another interesting thing is that the 16th chromatic of the Tzolk'in is kin 76 to kin 80. 76, you remember I mentioned that in my last video? That the words yellow overtone warrior sums to 76 in septonary gematria? And that kin 76, yellow spectral warrior, equals 76 as well? Remember me saying that? I don't want to have time to go into all the things that connect me back to 76, but if you go look at that and you'll see what I'm talking about. You see? There's another sync right there. And what's interesting is that it ends on kin 80. Kin 80. Why is 80 important? Because I'm tone 5, seal 16. 5 times 16 is 80. You think that's coincidence? And another interesting thing is that it's the fourth week of the fourth moon. 4-4. Its moon code with its heptad is 4.4. Right? And another interesting thing is that the guide kin of my galactic signature, Yellow Overtone Warrior, kin 96, is kin 44. Yellow Overtone Seed. That's my cousin, Sam. You think that that's important? You think that that's just, oh, this is all coincidence? Think about it. Okay, the universe does not do things by accident. The universe is way more intelligent than we are. We just got to get hip to it. We got to get in tune with it. Okay? The universe, nature, the cosmos is not dumb. It's not mute. It's not deaf. It's alive. And it's way more powerful and way more intelligent than we will ever dream to be. And I just happen to be in tune with it. That's the only difference between me and other people. And I'm not better than people or anything like that. I'm just in synchronization with the universe. It's the only difference. It's just I've realized that. Do you think that this is all just happenstance? No. So yeah, so this is the other half of it, right? 27 to 39 and 40 to 52. So that's just that. I don't have time to get into all of it, but what's this here? See, I have to remember to write descriptions of these things because I'm always discovering more and more and more. I don't know what that is. Do 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 do. Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting thing. So, from from numbers 1 to 260, there are 16. You can square the first 16 numbers, right? So the first one is squaring 1. 1 times 1. It's kin 1. Then you have kin 4, which is 2 times 2. Then you have kin 9, which is 3 times 3. 16, 4 times 4, 25, 5 times 5. Squaring 6 for 36. 49, squaring 7. 64, squaring 8. 81 for 9, 100 for 10, 121 for 11, 144 for 12, 169 for 13, 196 for 14, 225 for 15, and 256 for Yellow Solar Warrior, or for squaring 16. So again, here is a map of 16, right? Anytime you have a set of 16, it's relating back to the Warrior's Cube journey. It's relating back to, Jose Arguelles talked about telepathy being related to the warrior. Anytime you have the number 16, it's relating back to telepathy. And telepathy is very important because it is like a wireless connection to the psychic energy, right? And I can definitely attest to that. But Jose Arguelles also talked about tertons and terma, right? Tertons and terma are important because essentially in Tibetan, I believe it's Tibetan Buddhist tradition, but let's just say vaguely and generally Buddhist tradition. In Buddhist tradition, a terton is somebody who seeks after knowledge and sort of uncovers it through consciousness or by psychic means and discovers what is known as terma. So the terma is the knowledge, and the terton is the one who discovers that knowledge. And to me, that's what the warrior is the terton. Right? Like, look at this. Like, as a warrior, this is me pulling up terma. And so telepathy is the means that which the terma is uncovered through the terton. That's telepathy, right? Telepathy is many things. Telepathy is the exchange of energy, and we are like an antenna. We are like a radio. Our electromagnetic field of our body and our consciousness picks up on energies everywhere we go. You'd be surprised at how much of our pain is actually telepathic. And anyways, and it's also important by diet, etc., exercise, whatever. But these are the 16, what I call the 16 squared kin, right? And because it has to do with the squaring, right? The it's taking a number and multiplying itself by itself to create this like a magic square, like a grid, right? So I believe that, and I'm not entirely sure about this because it's like, how can we extract the spiritual or the metaphysical understanding of these different number relations? Like consciously, what do square numbers like? What's significant about them? As far as I can tell, it's sort of like a cooperation of humans as a collective, because we're all like 16 goes back to the terma, the telepathy, the terton. It's about exchanging energy. So I believe that anytime you see the number 16, it's relating back to the that exchange of energy between all people and all things. So it's about cooperation. So what's interesting, I actually just recently figured this out, is that, hang on, let me try and remember what this other one is. Oh yeah, if you were to look at the multiples of 16, so 16, 32, 48, 64, etc., you get 16 in the Zolkin. From 1 to 260, there are 16. And so what I did was I lined them up again, synchronized them with the squared kin. And another interesting thing is that, oh, hang on one second. Oh yeah, I mean, I'll just mention this real quick. But 6 times 16 is 96. That's my kin number, right? And what you'll notice is that my kin number is in the White Castle. The White Castle is ruled by the White World Bridger. And the White World Bridger, the 6th seal, is antipodal to the warrior. It's antipodal to the warrior. And what you'll notice is that in the White Castle, there are 3 warriors. Because the White Castle begins on kin 53, because it's a set of 52 and it's the second set, it's kin 53 to kin 104. And within the numbers 53 to 104, there are 3 warriors: 56, 76, 96. So 56 is the first warrior. So just to mention real quick, the World Bridger is the power of death. The Mayans depicted the World Bridger like a skull, like death, like the Reaper, right? But it's not as grim. You know, the Reaper is like the ferryman. It's the World Bridger. It's the connector of worlds. To me, I equate the World Bridger as the medium, the connective tissue, the one that brings people together, the one that brings energy together, and that acts as like a medium or a connection from one energy to the next. Yes, you can think of death as that, because death is a bridge, because we internally reincarnate. You know, there's no arguing that with me. I know it's for a fact. I can feel it in my very bones. But the 3 warriors that are in that castle, right, they are sort of like the warriors that guard the realm of death. Kin 56 is the first warrior when you enter the White Castle of Death. Because the first castle, the Red Castle, is the castle of birth. The White Castle is the castle of death. So the Kin 56 is the warrior that guards the entrance. He's the one, or he, she, they are the one that sort of guard the doors of that bridge, right? 76 is the one that is in the World Bridger wave spell, and they are the one that is essentially clearing away all the destructive energy in this world. Kin 76, they are the center warrior and the center in the castle of death. It's antipodal castle. And Kin 96 is sort of guarding the exit, right? Like basically being like, as people go through the bridge of death, they meet Kin 56 before they enter. Then they meet Kin 76 while they're in there. And then they meet Kin 96 as they exit. So it's like Kin 96, me, it's like I'm sort of like saying, okay, you just went through death, now this is where you're going. Like, goodbye, you know, you just went through the castle of death. So it's like I have a very clear understanding of like justice and like knowing where people are going to go, so to speak. And I'm always perpetually, like my energy is perpetually in that castle, like essentially right there by the exit. And it's like, again, going back to 76, how the septonary gematria equivalent of my kin number equals 76. So it's like saying it's pointing me back to that warrior that's inside that, in that bridge. But what's interesting is that if you take all the multiples of 16 within the Zolkin, there's 16 of them, and you add them together, you get this number here, 2,176. There's that 76. And the 2 and 1 is I'm in my red galactic dragon year currently, the year that I figured this out, and that's kin 21. Right? So there's the 21, there's the 76. And if you subtract 8 Zolkins from that, which is 2,080, you get 96. And I was, as far as I'm aware, I'm the only one figuring this stuff out. So it's like, it's saying like the synchronistic aspect of this is saying you are the one that was supposed to figure this out because you are contained within this matrix. Like this matrix is very highly connected to you and your energy. It's like the only other overtone warrior that I know about, and this is from a website, is Dakota Fanning. It's like, that doesn't really do me much help, you know? It's like, and I try to decipher everybody's galactic signature that I come along, so I can basically kind of point them to these various different maps. But it's like, these maps are infinite. These cycles, these mathematics are infinite. So it's like, even though I may not know something about a kin number, and by the way, the sun is setting, so it's getting dark, but it's like, even though I'm never going to know everything about all this stuff, but it's like I'm always uncovering more and more nowadays as it comes along synchronistically. But, yeah, it's like, that's the purpose of it, is finding your maps, because it's like, there's many different ways to look at time. That's the point, is there's cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. And it's like, it depends on what you're trying to focus on. If you're out there trying to change the world, you would look at a specific time cycle. If you were, trying to help people, you would look at a different time cycle. If you were a specific kin, you would look at different time cycles. So it's like, there's different ways. Like, you don't have enough time in the day to look at all of them. You know what I mean? Be like, okay, well, this one's in this position, this one's in this position, this one. What I've learned by following the law of time is there's not enough time in the day to be able to look at all the maps and still have time for tea and to read a book. There's just, or to play with your puppy or spend time with your lover or whatever. There's not enough time. So it's about understanding that we're all different. Our egos, they're all different. And it's about honing in on the specific map that is encoding you. Because the other maps will encode other kin numbers in different ways. It's like, this is just one that I happen to find out that I'm connected to. But it's about finding the maps that fit, that work for you. It's the same thing with the daily clock. You can look at the clock as 24 hours, right? But there's also 16 hour-and-a-half sequences, and that's related to the oracle. Again, this is the map to that. And it's connected to the 16 squared kin and the multiples of 16. But anyways, since the sun is going down and I'm losing my light, I'm going to stop here. There's weird things about this stuff, because the law of time is what I'm primarily focusing on, but you've got to include septonary gematria. You've got to be regularly doing the breathing codes. And it's just weird, the changes that occur over time when you look back. It's like, I've become vegan. I've been celibate for going on 2 years now. Well, like, I was celibate for a long time, but like completely, fully, like, celibate, and or asexual, whatever you want to call it. I'm retaining, my life force, whatever you want to call it. Because I have the occult power of Solar Serpent. But or you can think of Solar Serpent as Solar River or Solar Blood. So it's like, I have very, very hot blood, if that makes any sense. And sometimes, I become very serpent-like. But anyways, so it's like, and I know I say like a lot. I'm trying to beat the habit, but I don't have anybody, of a deep enough consciousness to help me point it out for me. But I seem to find myself constantly surrounded by sinners, surrounded by the ones that need help. And it's like, a lot of times I'm like, please surround me with, intelligent, awakened people. But it's like the universe just keeps, forcing me to be around people who just don't know their way, or they haven't activated their potential. And hang on, let me think of what I'm going to say before I say it so I don't say like again. There's things that occur through the process of time, the archetypal aspects of time. And when it happens, it's like a revelation. It's like it's knowledge that just comes to you. You don't really even have to try a lot of times. And it's some of the stuff that happens is very significant. Very, very, very significant. And when it does, you got to understand that the universe has a plan and that is guiding us towards this plan. And I know that one of my purposes is uncovering this knowledge because the universe keeps bringing it to me. The universe keeps moving my attention to it. Now, it has grown stale a few times because a lot of times I don't really have many others to share this knowledge with. I think that's the big culprit, is why it's kind of grown stale. But the thing that I get excited about this, don't get me wrong, it is an art form. I love it. It's beautiful and it's amazing and intelligent and powerful stuff. But the thing that I have most fun with is reading and writing. I don't want to call it fiction. I've talked about this before, but my main passion is reading and writing. What I would consider, I believe there's a lot more, and I say believe, but I feel in my heart of hearts that there's more truth to mythology than we think, and there's more lies than what we're told is reality. And what I love about mythology is that it opens your imagination to the possibility that maybe through long ages ago, that the things that existed, because there was a difference in consciousness, manifested things that are beyond our imagination. You know what I mean? Like, what if there were very, very gigantic sentient animals, or what is known in the Lovecraftian mythology of the old ones, or the elder race? Or what if they were giant humans? What if they built the pyramids? There's all these mysteries around us, and it does us no good to put like a block on our consciousness, on our imagination, and it's like, sure, we don't see these things in our everyday regular life. Like, we don't see dragons, we don't see elves, we don't see magic swords and all this, and grand adventures and castles and kings, and we don't see that stuff. But just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. There's a lot that we as individuals have never experienced, even though it's on the other side of the flat earth. You know what I mean? Like just because, say, we've never seen the Great Wall of China doesn't mean that it's not there. So it's like, sure, it is healthy to be like, okay, well, I've not seen these things, so I'm not going to put so much importance on them in my day-to-day life. That's reasonable, that's healthy. But at the same time, it's good to be aware that the universe is more strange and larger than we can imagine, and it's good to not limit yourself in what could be out there, Like, just admit, like, I don't know. It could be, might not be, but I'm not gonna say if it is or isn't, because we have no proof. That's the thing. And so when it comes to me, mythology is very important because it contains cosmic truth. It's not trying to pinpoint it in some historical, point in time, and it's not rigid. Mythology is important because it applies to our everyday lives. It applies to our consciousness. It applies to our psychology. It applies to our existence. And by understanding mythology, it's very, very important to us as people. It makes us healthier. It makes us smarter. It makes us better people, I think. And things like A Song of Ice and Fire are chock full to the brim of mythology, powerful mythology, combinative, if you can consider that. I don't know if that's a word, but like, it's a fusion of mythology. The Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, the Bible, like all of it, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, Chinese mythology. There's so much that beauty in all of that stuff. So for me, it's about understanding the the overall purpose and being honest enough with myself to, I don't want to say channel, but attune myself to writing it down in stories. That is my passion. I mean, you could consider it fiction, you can consider it fantasy, but for me, it's mythology. And mythology is very important because it's more real than people think. And so, when my writing process, the stories that I'm writing, it's me trying to lay down a sequence of events that applies to every major story. You have the hero, you have the conflict or the villain, and then the resolution, and hero saves the day. Hero finds love. Romance, comedy, adventure, horror, all these things, all these aspects of our life. And I want to write these stories incrementally in a way that incorporates all those things, that when people read them, not only are they getting like a moral upgrade, they're understanding morality from understanding all these various different complex characters, but they're understanding universal truths. So that's my writing process, is essentially just trying to be as clear of an objective narrator, or from like an eye in the sky kind of perceiver, and just writing it down in a way that is not biased, like trying to like allow myself and my imagination to become a conduit to write it down on paper, and to make it as clear cut for everybody to relate with, like essentially creating my own mythological pantheon and story to be just as helpful and cosmic as pretty much every other mythology. And I think that bias is, like, sure, like, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of bias because I am a character as well, but I think the more that we try to purify our subjectivity and try to make it as, universal, like, that's the key. And that's what I'm really passionate about. So I'll let y'all know when them stories come out. They're going to be put online. I don't know if I'm ever going to publish them. It depends on if people are requesting it enough, which I don't really have anybody who reads my stories, mainly because they're not complete yet. But I'm just saying what I'm really passionate about. The law of time, septonary gematria, my spiritual side, the breath, the breathing practices, etc., but also at the same time reading and writing. So oh yeah, my overall point is, because my main passion now is reading and writing, and that's what I spend all my focus and my time doing, I don't really think about these time maps consciously all that much anymore. But that being said, the revelations still come. The truth still arrives on its own, without really me even having to think about it. So it's just about being patient and being open to what is, following your heart, following your consciousness, following your specific custom road, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to. That's the ultimate understanding of the law of time, is that time is just a map, and what it's guiding is our conscious now. It's our conscious present moment. And that in that moment, understanding the auxiliary aspect of the maps of time is just understanding that there is a design, there is an architecture to it, our lives. And by being able to navigate that, we're more at peace, we're more in harmony. Doesn't mean that we're not going to be afraid, doesn't mean that we're not going to be angry or, feeling hopeless from time to time. No, that's the irony of life. But it helps make it a little bit easier to be at peace with oneself, and to reverberate the emotion that we want to reverberate. But that's all I'm gonna say now. I gotta go do some other stuff, and I'm a little exhausted, and I gotta go use the restroom. But I will catch you on the next video.